At 5:47 a.m., Jake was already losing his day, and he did not even know it. He was not late, he was not tired, he was not behind on work, but he was lying in bed, scrolling. 40 minutes, gone. It looked harmless, just a few videos, a few headlines, a few messages. Nothing urgent, nothing serious. But here is what Jake did not see. That first hour was quietly shaping everything. His focus, his energy, his decisions, his future. And the worst part? He thought he was resting. 4 years passed like this. Same job, same paycheck, around $3,400 a month. Same routine, same feeling that something was off, but never clear enough to fix. Until one morning, something small happened. A mistake at work. One wrong measurement. $500 lost. Not enough to ruin the company, but enough to expose something deeper. Jake was not failing because he lacked skill. He was failing because he was starting every day already distracted. And that is when he discovered something most people never realize. The first hour after you wake up does not just start your day. It decides the direction of your life. But almost everyone is using it the wrong way. So here is the real question. When you wake up tomorrow, will you take control of that first hour or lose another year without noticing? And there is one specific mistake in that first hour that nearly everyone makes. Jake made it too, and fixing it changed everything that came next. Jake Miller was 38 years old, and on paper, his life looked stable. He lived in a small, rented house on the edge of Columbus, Ohio. Nothing fancy. 1 bedroom, a narrow kitchen, and a garage he barely used. His rent was $950 a month, and most of his income went to bills before the second week even started. Every weekday, Jake woke up at 5:45 a.m. By 7:15, he was out the door. At 8 sharp, he clocked in at a local machine shop where he had worked for almost 6 years. 8 hours a day. Same machines, same sounds, same routine. Cut, measure, adjust, repeat. The work was not hard for him anymore. In fact, that was the problem. He could do most tasks without thinking. And when a job no longer requires your attention, your mind starts drifting somewhere else. That is exactly what was happening to Jake. Every morning followed the same quiet pattern. Alarm, silence, then his hand reaching for the phone on the nightstand. At first, it was just to check the time. Then one notification, then another. News, videos, random clips that had nothing to do with his life. Before he realized it, 45 minutes were gone. Not once did he sit up and ask, "What am I doing today?" Not once did he prepare his mind for anything that mattered. By the time Jake got out of bed, his thoughts were already scattered. And when your mind starts scattered, your entire day follows. At work, he still did his job. He still completed his tasks. But there was something missing. Sharpness. There were small signs he kept ignoring. A measurement he had to redo. A detail he almost missed. A moment where he had to double-check something he used to get right the first time. Nothing serious. Not yet. But enough to show a pattern. Jake did not see it clearly. To him, it was just another normal day. But the truth was already building quietly in the background. And it was about to show itself in a way he could no longer ignore. The mistake happened on a Tuesday morning, just before 10:30. Jake was working on a batch of steel shafts, each one needing precise measurements down to a fraction. It was routine work, the kind he had done hundreds of times before. He measured once, adjusted, then moved on. No pause, no second check. 40 minutes later, the supervisor walked over. There was a long silence before he spoke. "These are off." Jake looked again, this time slower. He felt it immediately. The diameter was wrong, not by much, but enough to make the entire batch unusable. 6 parts, each one worth close to $90. Just like that, over $500 was gone. The shop did not stop. The machines kept running, but something shifted. The supervisor did not yell. That made it worse. He just said, calm and direct, "You need to slow down. One more mistake like this, and we cannot keep covering it." Jake nodded, but his mind was not in the room anymore. That sentence stayed with him the rest of the day. Not loud, not dramatic, but heavy, because deep down, he knew this was not random. That night, he sat alone on his worn-out couch, the television on but muted. He replayed the moment again and again. The truth was uncomfortable. He did not rush because the job was hard. He rushed because his mind was already tired before the day even began. Every morning, he gave away his focus before he even needed it. And now it was starting to cost him. Not just money, not just reputation, but something bigger, time. Because if nothing changed, the next 5 years would look exactly like the last 4. Same job, same mistakes, same quiet frustration. And that was the part that scared him most. Not losing the job, but never moving forward. And for the first time, Jake stopped blaming the work and started questioning the way he began his mornings. The next morning did not feel different. No motivation, no sudden clarity, no dramatic realization. Just 5:45 a.m. and the same alarm sound. But this time, Jake did one thing differently. He did not reach for his phone. He had placed it in the living room the night before. Not far, just far enough to break the habit. For a few seconds, he lay still, staring at the ceiling. His mind felt empty and uncomfortable. No noise, no distraction, no escape. He almost got up to grab the phone. Almost. But instead, he sat up slowly and stayed there. That moment felt longer than it should have, because for the first time in years, Jake was awake without being occupied. He walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, stood there in silence. No rush, no scrolling, no input, just space. And in that space, something small but important happened. He noticed his thoughts. Not many, not clear, but they were his. That morning, Jake did not try to fix his life. He did not make big plans. He made one simple decision. For the next 7 days, he would protect the first hour after waking up. No phone, no distractions, no exceptions. He did not know if it would change anything, but he knew one thing. What he had been doing was not working. And sometimes, the first real step forward is simply refusing to repeat what keeps you stuck. For the first few days, nothing felt impressive. Jake woke up, stayed off his phone, sat in silence, then went to work. No breakthrough, no sudden energy, just a quieter morning. By day 4, he started questioning it. Was this even doing anything? That is when someone noticed. Mr. Carter had been working in the shop longer than anyone else. 61 years old, slow in his movements, but precise in everything he touched. He watched Jake for a moment, then said, "You look different in the mornings." Jake did not know how to explain it, so he just said, "I stopped using my phone when I wake up." Mr. Carter nodded once, like he had heard that before. Then he said something Jake did not expect. Here is the part nobody expects. Removing noise is not enough. You need direction. That was the missing piece. Because silence without direction becomes empty, and empty space gets filled by old habits. Mr. Carter wiped his hands, leaned against the machine, and gave Jake something simple, not motivation, a system. "Do this every morning," he said. "Same order. No thinking. Checklist. Sit still for 2 minutes. Drink 1 full glass of water. Write 1 clear goal for today. Review yesterday's biggest mistake. Practice one small skill for 10 minutes. Plan the first task before leaving home. Jake looked at the list. It did not look powerful. It did not look life-changing. That is why most people would ignore it. But Mr. Carter added one more line. Do not change it. Do not improve it. Just follow it. Because the problem was never that Jake did not know what to do. The problem was inconsistency. Too many ideas, not enough execution. The next morning, Jake followed the list exactly. 2 minutes sitting still felt longer than it should. Writing one goal felt too simple. Reviewing mistakes felt uncomfortable. But something was different. For the first time, his morning had structure. Not chaos, not reaction, but direction. And that direction started to carry into the rest of his day. The first week felt heavier than expected. Jake followed the checklist every morning. Same steps, same order, no changes. But nothing felt easier. Some mornings, he sat there staring at the wall, counting seconds. Other mornings, he rushed through the list just to get it done. By day 3, he caught himself reaching for his phone again. Habit does not disappear quietly. It waits. Day 5 was worse. He woke up tired, skipped the 2 minutes of stillness, wrote his goal too fast, ignored yesterday's mistake. For a moment, it felt like he was back where he started. And that is exactly where most people stop. Most people think if it does not feel right, it is not working. Most people expect change to feel good immediately. Most people quit right here. But Jake did something different. He did not restart. He did not adjust the system. He just continued the next morning as if nothing had happened. That decision mattered more than any perfect day. Because consistency is not built on good days. It is built on days that feel pointless. By the second week, something small shifted. At work, Jake noticed he was not rushing as much. He checked measurements twice, without forcing himself. He caught small errors before they became problems. Nothing dramatic, just fewer mistakes. By the third week, the change became visible. He started finishing his tasks about 20 minutes earlier than usual. Not because he worked faster, but because he wasted less time correcting errors. In the mornings, the 10-minute skill practice began to compound. He spent those minutes reading technical drawings, understanding tolerances he used to ignore. Not everything, just one small detail each day. After 28 days, something unexpected happened. Jake was given a more precise job, a task usually assigned to someone with more experience. No announcement, no praise, just a quiet shift in responsibility. And that is how real progress often looks. Invisible at first, then undeniable. But just as things started improving, something bigger arrived. Something that would test whether this new routine was real or just temporary. The opportunity did not come with an announcement. It came as pressure. Late on a Thursday afternoon, the shop received an urgent order. A local manufacturer needed a batch of precision components completed in 5 days. No delay, no tolerance for error. If the shop delivered, it would secure a long-term contract worth thousands each month. If they failed, that door would close immediately. Everyone felt it. The supervisor walked across the floor, assigning tasks faster than usual. Then he stopped in front of Jake. "You are taking this batch?" he said. Jake paused. These were not standard parts. Tighter tolerances, less margin for correction. One mistake would not just cost money this time. It would cost trust. For a second, doubt came back. Old habits do not disappear. They wait for moments like this. But something was different. Jake did not try to feel confident. He did not try to think positive. He went home and prepared for the next morning. The alarm rang at 5:45. No hesitation, no phone. He followed the system exactly. 2 minutes of stillness. Water. One clear goal. Complete the first batch with 0 error. Review yesterday's smallest mistake. 10 minutes studying the exact measurements required. Plan the first move before leaving the house. Nothing extra, nothing dramatic, just direction. At the shop, the pressure was constant. Machines running, deadlines getting closer, small delays stacking up. On the second day, one of the machines jammed, production slowed, time tightened. Jake felt the stress rising. This was where he used to rush. This was where mistakes used to happen. But now, something held. Instead of speeding up, he slowed down just enough to stay precise. Measure, pause, confirm, again and again. By the fourth day, fatigue set in. Long hours, repetitive work, constant focus. But every morning, the same system reset his direction. Not energy, not motivation, clarity. On the final day, the last piece came off the machine. Jake checked it once, then again. Perfect. No errors across the entire batch. The supervisor inspected the work quietly. No reaction at first. Then, a simple nod. "That is clean," he said. Nothing loud, nothing dramatic, but everything had changed. Because this was the moment the open loop closed. Jake had always believed the first hour needed to be productive, fast, efficient, full of action. That belief was wrong. The real mistake most people make is trying to do too much, too early. The first hour is not for speed. It is for direction. And once direction is set, everything that follows becomes sharper, calmer, and more controlled. Jake did not become a different person overnight, but he became consistent. And that changed everything. Most people believe change starts with big decisions. A new plan, a new goal, a sudden burst of motivation. That sounds good. But it is not how change actually works. Change does not begin with intensity. It begins with direction. That is what Jake learned. The first hour after you wake up is not about doing more. It is about deciding where your attention goes. And attention shapes focus. Focus shapes actions. Actions shape results. And results, repeated over time, shape your life. That chain is always running, whether you notice it or not. When you wake up and reach for your phone, you are not just checking something. You are giving your attention away before you have used it. And once that happens, everything that follows becomes reactive. But when you protect that first hour, even with simple actions, you take control of the direction before the day begins. That is why the change feels small at first, because it is. But small, repeated in the right direction, becomes powerful. Jake did not work more hours. He did not chase motivation. He just stopped losing the most important hour he already had, and that was enough to change everything that came after. So here is something to think about. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, what will you do with your first hour? Comment below and share your answer. Subscribe if you want more stories like this.